Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and arrive at episode number 382, which smells like roses. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Did you guys have a good week?
Not bad. I forgot to mention, I'll bring this up first. 2 weeks ago, I finally watched Coco.
Oh, is it good?
It was good. It was. It's not the top of the Pixar chain, but it was good. It was cute. It was a fun movie. I liked it. And Mason and I went and saw Avengers again yesterday.
Any new revelations on your third go-around?
Nope. It's still awesome, though. Man, it's awesome.
Did you guys, as ladies, have a good Mother's Day?
We did. My son was going to get up and make Holly breakfast this morning, and he ended up getting up a little too late. Holly said, "I stayed in bed as long as I could." So, when I got up, I asked him if he wanted to go get her breakfast. He said, "Yeah." So we got in the car and went and got breakfast and brought it home. And then tonight we went over to my parents and had a cookout for my mom and Holly.
Once again, it was hey, let's have everybody over the house. And I'm thinking to myself, are you sure you want to do that? Never quite seems to go the way that in your head it's going to go. And within half an hour, it was fairly obvious this had been the wrong decision made. And she looked at me and said, "Next year, I want to go to a beach. I want no phone, no computer, no email. I don't want anybody to be able to find me or get a hold of me." I said, "Okay, plan now. We'll start working to make that happen." Just, "Where's Mom for Mother's Day?" "She's gone." But admittedly, it was also coming off a very long weekend. We took the grandkids down to Cocoa Keys, and this was part of her free trip that she went off of the radio station. So we finally got around. We thought, well, let's use this during the winter when it's cold. It's May. We're just now getting around to it, if that tells you anything. The kids had a blast, which was the important part.
That's good.
We met up with Kirk.
Aw. How's Kirk?
Kirk's good.
Good.
Says to tell you both hi. I told him you were both going to be green with envy that I got to see him and you didn't.
We went to the zoo with my mom yesterday, and it was Gemma's first trip to the zoo since, last time she went, she was an infant and slept the whole time. So, she liked it pretty much. And then we just kind of hung around home and had a nice low-key weekend for the most part. We did watch Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
Hey, what'd you think?
Not as good as the first one.
Not as good as that's kind of where it comes down.
I think it's too full. I think there's too much going on in it.
It's like they got a budget and then went, okay.
Yeah, or they were worried they weren't going to get to do a third one, so they decided to cram as much story into the second one as possible.
Either one of those I could see.
Yeah. It's some cool ideas in it. And the action wasn't as great as the first one either.
All right, shall we move on to news?
Let's. So Penguin Random House. Penguin Random House.
That was a duck anyway. I don't know if I know what noise a penguin makes.
I'm not sure. Have announced a new short story featuring the 13th Doctor as to expand the 12 Doctors, 12 Stories line. So they originally did the 11 Doctors, 11 Stories, and then they did a reissue and an individual issue for 12, and now they're doing the same thing with 13, written by Naomi Alderman. They have not announced the title of said story, though. But
if you're hoping that it will match up with your previously 12 and 11 volumes of artwork, it probably won't.
Probably not. You'll probably have to buy a whole new volume just to get this one. But I'm sure it's worth it. I don't know.
I can't back that up either.
This is her first return to Doctor Who after her 2011 novel, Borrowed Time, which is getting re-released.
Oh, wow.
As a hardback.
Big news for her.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's a paperback edition. And then they have also announced a collection of Doctor Who stories by Jenny T. Colgan called The Triple Knife.
The Triple Knife?
The Triple Knife.
Why does Jenny T. Colgan sound familiar?
She's written a lot of stuff.
That's why. Okay.
So
within
that's pretty.
Doctor Who, I'm
yes.
guessing. Okay.
And outside of Doctor Who, but yes.
Oh, well,
within Doctor Who. I think she wrote some of the 10th Doctor audios.
No, I don't think that's it.
And some novels.
That's probably where.
So kind of nice to see the 13th Doctor, excitement building with these sort of things as we lead to the start of the show.
Well, she's definitely hitting the ground running with merchandise and logo and merchandising already out there.
The other bit of news this week, they have announced the second story for Doctor Who Infinity, the new mobile game coming out, and it will feature the Third Doctor and Joe, starring Katie Manning, and the Zarbi.
Cool. The Zarbi.
The
bumblebees?
Well,
Or the ants?
The
Which
ants.
one were the Zarbi? The Zarbi were the ants.
the Menoptera were the bees.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Gotcha.
And they've released some gorgeous art for this story, including a really impressive. So go Google it. A really impressive
Oh,
cover.
that is cool.
Oh, yeah. Very neat.
It is called Orphans of Polyoptera. Something like that. Polyoptera.
Passamaquoddy.
Written by Gary Russell, if I remember correctly.
In good hands, then.
Yeah, Gary Russell wrote it, so that's exciting. George Mann and Gary Russell writing for a Doctor Who game. Can't go wrong there.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
That's it for news.
Jenny Colgan wrote Christmas Invasion, by the way, the Target novelization.
Yes, that's the most
That's
recent.
why you're thinking.
That's why I'm thinking
That's
of
the
it.
most recent version.
All right, let's move on to feedback.
First up in feedback is Ben.
Ben writes, "Whew, I thought it was just me. Hey, guys. Whew, I thought it was just me." I think Ben's caught in a bit of
A time loop.
recursion. Following up on last week's feedback, I did enjoy THX 1138. I too own it. It was one of the Blu-rays I got recently on Amazon. I got the overall gist of the movie, but specific elements of the film left me bewildered. A rewatch is definitely in order, but I have no confidence in that rewatch clearing things up for me. That will simplify it pretty tremendously for you. The fact that you have no confidence in it clearing things up. Remaining in the world of film, I mentioned getting several Blu-ray movies recently, all at low prices. Of course, after submitting that, another film popped up on Amazon. I had previously searched for this on Blu-ray only to see that no such release was available until now. So while for many years I had to be content with the standard DVD version, I now can enjoy the Andromeda Strain on Blu-ray. Another film, in this case a miniseries that's coming to Blu-ray, is The Martian Chronicles. I have it pre-ordered in my Amazon wishlist. Wouldn't you know, though, I not too long ago purchased the standard DVD version as there was no Blu-ray. Or so I thought. Ah, well, what is one to do? Better to have a thing and not need it, eh? You know, Martian Chronicles is one that I remember watching it. I think we maybe even watched it in school. That was the installments. And I remember not understanding a lick of it, but being really intrigued. And then years and years and years later, I went and bought it. And it's still sitting on my shelf to watch because I can't manage to stitch together 6 hours to invest into it. So maybe I can watch it with Ben. Moving into the world of books, I finished Authority, the sequel to Annihilation, and have begun the final book, Acceptance. I cannot wait to see where this journey finishes. I'm not sure what I'll read after that, but Doctor Who, The Day She Saved the Doctor, 4 stories from the TARDIS, may well be the one. I believe that's it for now. I hope you are well. Take care. Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
If people want to contact us, how do they do it?
They can just go to our website, travelingthevortex.com, and fill out the Send Us Feedback tab. Or you can send it directly to feedback@travelingthevortex.com. You can, of course, also reach out to us on any form of social media.
And while you're at our website, you can, of course, support us on Patreon. Consider supporting us there. All of the money that you donate to this podcast goes right back into this podcast so we can continue to produce the show. And we thank those who are already supporting us.
Another way you can interact with us is also the Doctor Who Book Club. Hop on there, and the current book of the month is Doctor Who The Missy Chronicles, so hop on, and if you've read that or if you are reading it, put in your thoughts. And then there's also a poll available for next month's book to choose.
What are the polls, what choices for next month?
They are the novelizations.
Oh, the ones that were just announced. Good.
Yes.
Then I did vote in that poll. I'm current.
One of those written by Jenny T. Cooper.
That's probably why. Which one did she write?
The Christmas
Christmas
Invasion.
Invasion.
Oh, right. Yes, you said that right.
Ooh, it's going to be one of those nights.
It's going to be one of those nights.
Oh, it's going to be one of those nights.
One of those nights.
One of those nights.
And of course, thank you goes out to the Five-ish fangirls for monitoring and keeping track and taking care of the Goodreads book club for us, because we greatly appreciate it.
Cool, let's move on to this week's review.
Castrovalva. The Doctor defeats the Master's plans to hold the universe to ransom, but at a high personal cost. After plummeting from the Pharos Project telescope, the Doctor regenerates. The time travelers escape the Master's clutches, but the Doctor's regeneration is failing, and Adric goes missing in the depths of the TARDIS. Only Nyssa and Tegan can save the day by steering the TARDIS to the city of Castrovalva, renowned for its healing powers, but evil lurks at the heart of this simple paradise.
I'm really not sure what to give this one. Keith, start us off.
I really like the first half of it. It's until they get to Castrovalva that it starts going downhill for me.
I think I could concur with that.
Yeah,
It's sort of two different stories. I mean, it's not two different stories, but there's obviously a Act 1 that has very little to do with Act 2. It's like getting to Act 2.
The only connecting thread is the Master. This Castrovalva's Plan B.
Right.
I mean, that's the only major connection to the two. Yeah, but the first half I really enjoyed of the Master's plan of sending him back to the, Big Bang, kind of doing an edge of destruction type thing, and the Doctor's regeneration failing, and them trying to find the Zero Room and wandering around the TARDIS so much. I really enjoyed watching all of that. It's just once they got to Castrovalva, and then the epic amount of time it seemed to take to get into the city, and then this city whose civilization is too rushed to try to establish, and then winds up not mattering because it was all a fiction anyways. Just kind of made me a little frustrated.
And it's a shame, too, because there's really some neat ideas.
Yeah, I think the Castrovalva aspect of it would have been better had, they would just went to Castrovalva and they stretched it out instead of trying to rush through the entire society building in one episode only to tear it all down in the next episode. It's like, why did I start caring about any of these people when you're going to start telling me that
they don't really exist?
Yeah, exactly.
Or they're a construct of some mathematical genius's mind.
Yeah.
I love the bits of the rug that get taken out from underneath us, like the hunting party. And
yes.
Big feathers and weird and spears and things. And then we get inside and it's like, oh no, that's an exercise regiment. What?
The ideas behind all of this are really cool.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a spatial time loop that he's established. And
No. Quit trying to sugarcoat it.
No, I think there is some good there.
It's just not well executed.
Here's the problem that I have. Is, in my mind, this is the way the pitch session went. Okay, so the newly regenerated Doctor, things aren't going well. Okay? And the Master has this plot, and it's a trap. Okay. And then what? Well, it's a trap. Within a trap. Oh, that'll be exciting. Okay, go write that. And instead what we get is... So, I'm going to hypnotize Adric.
Kidnap him.
And force him to set the TARDIS on a collision course with the Big Bang. But just in case that doesn't work, I'm also going to have him load information into the TARDIS computer banks about this fictional city that doesn't exist that will help the Doctor with his regeneration. Again, just in case Plan A doesn't work out. And as part of Plan A, I don't know, maybe it was pre-programmed in there that the Zero Room would get jettisoned. Maybe not. Maybe it's happenstance. But he's got to come here either way. We're going to force him to get to Castrovalva as Plan B. And then I'm going to use Adric to build Castrovalva, because it doesn't really exist. And then once he's here, are you ready for this? I'm going to kill him. That's a really convoluted plan to get to that.
Yeah, that's the Master for you, though.
But really, to get to that end game, I'm going to pry him out of his box and stab him with my fireplace poker. That's kind of the end goal here. That's it? That's all you got? Okay.
So apparently Castrovalva was a painting
Yeah.
done by M.C.
By
Escher,
Escher.
which
You
kind
ever,
of
you ever seen the
which explains
stairs upside down?
Yeah,
and
all
right
of
side
that.
up, and
I didn't know that's what that. I mean, I
Castrovalva.
obviously watching it, it's fairly obvious
Well,
that was the influence of it, but I
yeah.
didn't know that was the actual name of the painting. Yeah, I mean it's got moments that are fairly joyous. Tegan thinking that she's flying the TARDIS in a very logical, rational. This is how we would look something up in the information file, and this is how I'm going to execute it. And then having that rug pulled out from under us, I was like, no, it was all pre-programmed. You didn't do jack squat. Aw, Nyssa being Nyssa and trying to kind of toe that balance between the Doctor's wishes and whatever Adric is telling her, and keeping Tegan, in balance. Okay, that's kind of awesome. The Doctor putting in a fairly, nuanced performance of Peter Davison and supplementing with, some previous Doctor reactions and, kind of becoming the Peter Davison Doctor that we would know, except for the whole insult to injury that not only is the skinny blonde guy set up in place of my Doctor, that now he's 5 minutes in the TARDIS awake and he's dismantling the scarf.
This is not the scarf; it's the burgundy scarf.
Yeah, but still, the symbolism of that was too great to ignore. Not only am I not him, I'm really not him. And here goes the waistcoat.
Yeah.
I'm taking the shoe off and leaving it behind. Okay.
I don't even think the performance was nuanced. It was
Really?
It was forced. It was over the top. It was driving home too much of a point. If he had just done subtleties of the Doctors, I would have been more. I would have appreciated that more. I would have liked it. But he was doing Hartnell very over the top. He was doing Second Doctor very over the top. He was doing
Second Doctor was over the top.
There was the problem is somebody told him to do these, and I don't think it was necessarily him. I think somebody was saying, "No, give me more, so they know. Let's drive it home that that's what you're doing." And I'm afraid that you didn't need to drive it home by overemphasizing it. So no, that was terrible.
I actually read that was Davidson's idea to do them in the first place. I don't know about the
so it was
level
too much.
that they were done.
Well, then it was too much for me. No one who did it. It was too much. The other thing is, Davison doesn't have anything to do in this. They make it seem
That's
like
another
he does,
problem.
Yeah.
but he has nothing to do but run around and be confused. This was a terrible use of regeneration sickness. Terrible use of it. I like the idea that there's consequences, and they wanted to show us that. And it just, and the zero room idea, I think, is conceptually kind of the neat one. It's like a meditation chamber where it blocks out everything that's incoming, especially when you regenerate underneath a radio telescope, which they kind of explain that. And he needs a place to relax and get his mind off it while he rests. It's kind of the same thing that David Tennant did, laying in bed before the coffee, or before the tea. But it just there's way too much of that. So I disagree with this. The first part being good. Maybe it's a little better than the second part, but or the second two. But there's nothing going on. It's Nyssa.
But it all happens in the TARDIS,
it's
so
Nyssa
it gets a
and,
pass.
No, it's Nyssa and Tegan. If they'd have shown us different parts of the TARDIS that were even more interesting, this one was even more corridors. That was the problem.
I don't care. More corridors.
Yeah.
That's a TARDIS interior.
The zero room.
The thing is, the TARDIS is vast. The TARDIS has tons of rooms, but we continue to just see corridors. I know what the corridors look like. I can imagine what the corridors look like. But Tegan and Nyssa have very little to do. Now, they give them the idea of they're going to kind of figure this out and pilot themselves, but you're exactly right. Any sort of building they did, team building they did, they tore that down at the very end. And so it's just, this is the one I was looking forward to the least rewatching because it's not one of my favorite episodes. I've never been a big fan of this one. It takes too long to get anywhere, and when we get to Castrovalva, I'm with you. I don't know that concept is a good. You have to explain to me why you think that's a good concept. Why is that good? Why is it good ideas? They get there and it makes me interested in what's going on. What's the mystery of the city? But then again, it's all dismantled in the next episode, and you're like, well, why do I even care that you've built me up on this? It's almost like you want for a shock factor of we're gonna, play you up on this society and make you interested and find out what's going on and what are these people are all about. Oh no, it doesn't matter because they don't really exist and they don't realize they don't exist. I don't know.
I think I found what I found interesting was the spatial time loop aspect of.
Okay, why is that a good idea?
Well, I think the execution I think was fairly well done of them wandering through this city and keep winding back and can't find where they're
Why
going.
is that interesting?
I found it interesting.
Okay. Why is that interesting, Sean? Why is that a good concept? That's like somebody needs to sell me on why that's a good concept. To me, it's just walking in circles. You can't get out. It's like the Minotaur's maze.
Maybe because this is the first time that we've walked in circles. We've seen walking in circles. We saw it 2 episodes ago with, or 1 episode ago with Logopolis with the TARDIS and the TARDIS and the TARDIS, and continually walk into the console room.
So they've already borrowed the idea.
So we've already got that idea, and we've seen it previously with what's the Sontaran 4th Doctor one, where he's leading them through the TARDIS, but it's the same set of
Invasion
4
of Time.
Yeah, Invasion.
and it's obvious that it's the same set of 4 hallways. It's the same stairwell. It's the same that. But this is the first time that we get led around in circles, and they're aware of it. That makes all the difference.
Who's aware of it?
The Doctor.
Well, he was aware of it in the last
see,
last
he was doing
episode.
that on
Going,
purpose.
But-
he figures it out as we
but-
go along, and then he's aware of it later.
But then
as
he's not.
as he goes along.
It's a different kind of circle. They think they're still going like deeper because the lighting is changing, and they're still plodding forward through that gravity bubble. But it's different. This is a little. Oh, it's the square. We've come back to the square. Draw me a map. Where's your
All
apothecary?
right. So why is it a good idea?
It's just different.
That's different. Okay.
I
don't know.
I,
Again,
I,
it's a good
can't
idea.
sell me
I
on it.
also found it interesting because it was a send up of that painting, and it was the realization of that painting brought to life.
Fortunately,
Kind of like that part done in Labyrinth.
Fortunately, Labyrinth did it much better.
Well, yeah, but Labyrinth also did it later.
They did it much later, but they did it better.
I guarantee you that one scene in Labyrinth had a larger budget than all 4 pieces.
Oh, sure,
to
absolutely,
get there.
absolutely.
Maybe not, but no, it's just like I said. I agree. The second half of it definitely falls apart for the same reasons that we were dissatisfied with whatever the Matrix episode with Capaldi was, where that we got invested and then found out none of it mattered.
What was that?
Well, the first monk one.
Yeah, for the same reason the Dream Crabs was like anytime you take the reality element out of it, it becomes okay. Well, now all of a sudden I'm less interested, and
Which is why I found the first half better and more interesting because it actually mattered.
to do it this early.
Yeah,
And
it
real.
matters, but there's nothing going on in those 2 episodes. It's to get from Earth to Castrovalva, and so you spend 60 minutes averting a crisis. Yes, they're getting ready to go into the thing, but that if you believe that Tegan had nothing to do, well, the Doctor did come in and come up with the jettison the ideas. To be fair, that to me is conceptually the coolest part of the whole thing. Is, well, how do we get out of here? Well, we have to jettison some of the TARDIS, like a fourth of it, yeah, in order to get enough propulsion to get away from there. Yeah. But then the Doctor's running around struggling. He's in circles, and it just there's
It's once they resolve the getting out of the heading toward the Big Bang is when the Castrovalva plot starts to kick in, and that's when it becomes less interesting.
I think, though, the problem with it is there's one solution to getting out of that, and they kind of get to that idea of the solution and then still spend a long time waiting, is this going to work? The whole if factor and Nyssa learning about if, which I thought was silly because while Tegan's kind of right, there is the chance thing that you kind of have to do, and then later she's moaning about it that it's anyway the whole if thing about well, what if we jettison the console room? But there's very little suspense there because there's no I
think there wasn't much suspense there to begin with, and they invented the console room
that's
argument.
What it is.
Just in
They
case
invent. It feels
let's
like it's
build some
invented.
tension.
Yeah, there's no tension there though. That's the problem. And the Doctor running around just going into the thing. It's frustrating because if they were able to kind of make the tension around it a little better, that could have been more of an active presence to me going, oh gosh, okay, what are they going to do? What's going to? But it's a lot of running around and I don't know.
Part of the problem is
I don't know how to describe it.
And I don't want to delve too deeply in this because this I think will better tie in with next week's topic on regeneration. But the regeneration sickness idea is really kind of lame because you are removing your core character from the show for a large chunk of it. And now you're shouldering the burden of responsibility on the companions. that can be a good thing. That can be done in a plot development. If you got regeneration sickness, and that's the thrust of the plot, okay. But there's so many of these that the Doctor's just out of commission, and we wind up with running around and nothing really happening until miraculously he has a cup of tea, and sits up and figures it all out. Which is really what happens here. He gets to Castrovalva, he reads a book and figures it out. Okay, so you've wasted an episode.
Spirit
now.
from space. He lays in hospital for a while. Gets up,
Right.
takes a shower, and figures it out.
Yeah, and there's so many of them that are like that follow that template, that it's a waste of an episode. I would much rather just have the Doctor hit the ground running. Maybe give me 10 minutes of confusion while he's still muddling through it, and then move on.
Sure,
It's like 11th hour.
Don't remove the sickness altogether, but
Right.
get it going. Get the Doctor back into the subject of the
And how
story.
much, if you had done it that way, if all of them followed that pattern, how much more impactful is Twin Dilemma when he turns and strangles Perry? Maybe that makes that better because it's regeneration sickness to the nth degree, and you're going, oh, what my God, what is going on?
Sure.
But instead it just becomes, oh, he's wonky this episode, he'll be all right next time. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and so Castrovalva, we've got that. We've got to deal with regeneration sickness. And they tried. We got the Zero Room. We got some other things going on that we're going to try and really weave it into the plot. And that's why we have to go to Castrovalva. Oh, but we've also got the Master to deal with. And so once again, we get this very convoluted, over-the-top, way too
Unnecessary.
engineered plot device. Now, I will give them credit, admittedly, having not seen this since, it aired on, or whenever I saw it originally. I haven't gone back and watched this one, so this is only my second viewing on it. Totally didn't get that one guy was Anthony Ainley.
At first viewing, or the first time he came in the bedroom before he takes a nap.
I didn't get it.
I did not get that at all.
I didn't get it until
when he
the
showed up
reveal.
the second time. I caught it.
When the reveal happened, I went, what? I mean, well, of course he is, but what? I mean, that was so. Hats off for that one.
I'll tell you, when I first watched it when I was young, when I was a kid, and then the first watching that I had this, which was several years ago, but I remember misremembering because I knew there was the big reveal and that the Master was in disguise, but I misremembered who it was, and I thought it was the librarian, and I kept the whole time thinking, okay, when is the reveal? When does the librarian reveal that he's the Master? I can't remember, and then I felt this time because I knew that I remembered this time, but. Like I remember looking at him going, "Is that Anthony Ainley? I'm not sure," and trying to figure it out, and only to have the other guy reveal that he. So I wasn't even paying attention. Probably this time I looked and I was like, "That's obviously Anthony Ainley now."
The second time he showed up, I could totally tell it was him.
But I think I was so focused on the librarian. And when is that reveal? I can't remember. It happened somewhere around here. And I was like,
well, and the librarian does have that element of shady about him, that he's up to something.
But I think that's the purpose of it, is to give you misdirection, because
and again,
he's wearing black and this guy's wearing all white, so we have to trust him.
It's not until he teams up with the Doctor and says, okay,
3 little circles on his helmet.
Right. God, those hats.
The hats were amazing. I'm going to go out and buy 5 of those hats.
Pickle buckets.
I know it's on your birthday present list for you guys next year.
As long as it's luminous. You better have a built-in lighting rig. But no wonder he kind of walked stooped over with a cane. The weight of that hat probably was. But no, I didn't see the reveal coming. But again,
Even this picture on the back of the DVD case doesn't look like Ainley. I don't think.
Well, and he's credited as some ridiculous anagram again.
Yeah,
or I should say it's the first time.
And the old Toyne.
But I feel like Scott. I have a gun in my room. I'll go get it. I'll bring it back here. We'll shoot them together. It'll be fun. And why do you need sharks with laser beams on their heads? Why? And the Master's just like, you just don't get it, do you? Because of course I do. So, again, the reveal of that happening with the Master, and it's not the librarian, is kind of one more insult to injury that you started to give me something interesting with Castrovalva. But ultimately, it doesn't matter because all these people. I mean, I'm not even all that concerned over the fact that, oh, come on, follow this guy. He can get us out of here. Well, he's imaginary, right? I mean, I guess is he as real as any of the block computation stuff? But I kind of feel like he's going to hit that invisible barrier and fade out or something.
Right.
He's just not going to make it out of this. So I can't be too concerned about your escape now either. I don't know. Just some missed.
And I think the story could have just almost as easily worked with a spatial time loop if Castrovalva hadn't been a construct. If the Master had just gotten with his TARDIS, traveled back and planted himself into the society and and done his masterly thing and become this high position so he could do this, that almost would have worked better as a story. Of course, you probably would have needed more length to flesh it out more, but...
Well, okay, let's jettison the zero room bit.
Yeah.
What can we do for you, Doctor? You're better. You're in the TARDIS, right? No, I don't have anything like that. We have to go somewhere this. What do you suggest?
Only Castrovalva has a zero room.
Yeah, let's go to Castrovalva. Okay, boom, done. We're there. And then you start delving into the mysteries of this planetary society and why all their history books are thousands.
Not our job
of
to
years old.
fix it.
I know. It'd be a fun job, though, wouldn't it? But those are the two things that I come away from. I imagine the pitch session was the Master has a plan, and it's a trap, followed by, you know that painting, that M.C. Escher thing? Let's do that. What if the Doctor went there? That'd be kind of cool. Okay, go make that work. It didn't.
And the past two stories of praising Adric all get stripped away in this one because he doesn't get to do anything and is held captive pretty much the whole time. And despite trying to fight the Master, his acting is a bit too over the top also.
He swings too wildly from, I must help the Doctor, I'll never help you, to what appears to be that artful dodger ploy of, okay, yes, the Doctor is doomed. I see that now. Okay, we don't buy it, but, the Master doesn't either. And then it swings back into, no!
Yeah.
There's also some mild concern I have over the fact that the Master can abduct people from within the TARDIS.
Yeah.
That seems like a breach of security.
Is that what happened? Because I was kind of unsure.
Oh, wait, no, he didn't. He nabbed him outside.
All right, it was a forced projection. Yeah,
inside.
that's
Okay.
right.
Throughout, the entire time from when...
That's right. When the Master's TARDIS lands after the attack on the police officer,
he's outside.
He's actually abducted him then and forced a projection of him walking into the TARDIS.
Which is why the TARDIS was hovering up above it.
Right.
The other TARDIS.
The other TARDIS.
Yeah.
No chameleon circuit needed there.
No, just a pillar hovering in space. No one noticed.
Nothing to see here.
Move along.
He was probably busy with those block computations.
And
I can't be bothered with that. Nobody will pay any attention to me anyway.
Projection going.
His perception filter was engaged. The poor dumb unconscious police officers wouldn't even notice. This was the first one, I guess, that had a cold open. Up to this point, they never.
I'm kind of glad they did it that way because of the fact that they were recapping the last episode, which was the Doctor's fault.
Wait, so Power didn't do it when it aired in live action?
According to the wiki article I read, this was the first one to do it.
Because the animated version had it for Power.
It did have a cold open, didn't it? Yeah.
Maybe it should have. That's what the animators felt.
Maybe they redid it.
It's also interesting to note that going back and seeing these now, this is the version of the regeneration that I remember.
Oh.
I didn't remember the everybody coming back hallucination bit, but I do remember him still sitting up for a minute, so it's kind of a mesh between the two.
It's interesting how much follow-up there is to the story previously, and the fact that they're getting chased down by the security guards, and Adric gets captured, and there's a good 15 minutes there almost of fallout from the previous story, which was something you normally don't see either.
Fallout. I see what you
normally
did there.
see. That's true.
But yeah, it's it is what it is. In a way, Castrovalva perfectly encapsulates a lot of the Fifth Doctor's era for me. That we've got too many characters not being given enough to do, and not enough story to flesh out a 4-parter, because it feels like, well, it genuinely, a lot of the later 80s Doctor Who feels to me like we're feeding the dragon. We've got to put something out there. And so, well, let's stretch this idea out for X number of episodes, and that way we only have to write 3. I don't know. Maybe not.
I can kind of see that, but
maybe a little bit. I would definitely put Castrovalva on the lower end of Fifth Doctor stories.
Well, the nice thing is, if you were watching these in order, then you would get Frontios next. So, all right.
No,
Fort
of Doomsday, which is
what
a
I
great one.
That's
Which
what
is
I
a
mean.
great
Yeah,
one.
Fort of Doomsday. I had the right one in my
In your
brain.
head,
I just
yeah.
had the wrong title. Yes, Fort of Doomsday.
Oh, God, Frontios. The Tractators.
Yeah, no, not that one.
No, not that one. Unfortunately, if you felt that way about this one, you still had Frontios to look forward to.
Or, Black Orchid. Or,
I don't mind Black Orchid.
I'm sure there are other ones that are just slipping my mind.
No, there's a bunch, but I think Black Orchid's an unfair one to pick on.
So now that
If
I've
nothing else, it's short.
Yeah. So now that I've seen the entire New Beginnings box set, I did go ahead and start listening to Primeval, which is like 3,000 years before Keeper of Traken. So it's kind of a more exploration of Traken, but it's such an old Traken that even Nyssa doesn't recognize it. So there's not that much new to be gleaned from it out of the Keeper era of the Traken Union.
So, since you brought it up, how do we feel about this as a trilogy, going from Traken to Legopolis to Castrovalva?
The fact that the Master is there is what makes it the trilogy. It's that Master thread going through the entire thing, which I think it, for the most part, works pretty decently as a trilogy. There's definitely connecting tissues through everything, which is vitally important. Is it the best trilogy out there? No, but there are stronger connections for that box set than the Silurian box set that they did.
See, I think I would disagree.
What?
The Silurian Sea Devils and Warriors of the Deep had stronger connections?
Well, at least they all had Sea Devil.
These all had the Master.
Yeah, but...
Wait. These were all
all
directly connected. These make an actual trilogy.
Yeah.
This is like the most logical box set next to Dalek War. This is the most logical box set in the entire series. The Silurian box set was ridiculous. It was just like, well, we've got
these three stories,
and one has Silurians, one has Sea Devils, and one has them both.
Yeah. I don't get me wrong. No, I understand that was done purely as a marketing thing. Because, it's a Sea Devil box set. Or Silurian box set versus the New Beginnings. It was like, well, here's a trilogy of things. But there's very little trilogy in it.
I think this trilogy works better than the Dalek War trilogy.
Yeah, well, from your guys' perspective, yes, because it's just that narrow. We go from one to the other. So,
right. Well, was that a trilogy, or was that just
no,
a two?
it was just a two.
And because the one was barely connected.
That was
Frontier in Space
Frontier.
and
Yeah,
Planet of the
Frontier.
Daleks. The Master shows up in all three of them, but he's got 3 different plans.
Well,
They just happen to all... And it's amazing, isn't it, that he had this whole thing ready to go, that he was going to drop the Doctor off the top of the Frontier, or off the Pharos Project Tower, and it didn't work, and he regenerated. And he immediately had this plan ready to go in reserve. So by the time we get to Castrovalva, this is actually Plan Z. Because there are so many attempts to kill the Doctor throughout all these other things. He was going to leave him stranded on Traken. He was going to entrap him in the web.
But
I think
the
that's
Traken was impromptu.
Yeah.
Because he didn't plan on the Doctor showing up in Traken.
Right.
And then followed him to Legopolis.
And he wasn't there to kill the Doctor. He was there to...
He had a different plan.
He had a whole other plan.
He just took advantage of the opportunity to try to kill the Doctor.
This is the first one that...
He went to Earth. He followed him to Earth and then to Legopolis.
But they were working together.
They were working together to go to Earth. Oh, you mean... Oh. Yeah, well, it's because he needed the Doctor as part of his plan, though. He wasn't there to kill the Doctor.
He was just using the Doctor.
He followed the Doctor to use him as part of his plan to...
He was pretty much hitching a ride.
Basically... take control of Legopolis. and then ultimately used the Doctor again to try to take control of the
Coming
universe.
right off the heels of his defeat, in quotes, at Traken. I don't know. It's a contrivance. I'm nitpicking. I understand that, but I don't know. It's the Master is very frustrating to me because we've talked before about his MO of I'm going to go and get this super powerful alien race to invade the planet. Ha ha. Oh, they're more powerful than I anticipated. Now I have to team up with the Doctor, and that's his MO. And at least we don't get that here, but it really makes him seem very inept because none of his plans come to fruition because he's just not very good at coming up with plans. They're way too complicated.
Isn't that the argument you just made for the previous Master stories?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not an exclusive to this
trilogy.
trilogy.
It's not exclusive to this
issue
trilogy,
you
but
have.
This trilogy really...
It's just an overall Master
It's an overall
issue.
Master issue, but it really... This, I think, brings that more into focus because there is no alien
I think you need to
influence.
watch the Third Doctor stories back to back.
Oh, we can put that on the list.
I think
Because I think you'd have the same issue then.
ultimately, though, it's not really even fair to call this a trilogy. It's 3 episodes in sequence that were released as a marketing thing because they realized when the DVD came out, then the DVDs were released. They said, "Hey, we have these 3 together that we haven't released. Let's market it as the New Beginnings box set." Nobody calls this the trilogy. Nobody ever calls this trilogy. The only reason that's planted in anybody's heads is because they were released together in a box set, and it suddenly got the name the New Beginnings box set. It was never intended to be a trilogy, but To Entertain, BBC Worldwide said, "Hey, we can market these together as a set." I don't even think these 3 were box setted in the UK this way. I think this was just for American
really?
audience. And the reason why To Entertain realized that, and BBC Worldwide realized that they needed to do these box sets back in the 90s and actually early 2000s was because that's what American consumers were buying. They were buying things in box sets. That's why we got Dalek War the way we did. That's why we got the New Beginnings the way we did. That's why we got the Solarians box set the way we did. And that's exactly why, in fact, that's the first one that they said they did that for was The Key to Time. They knew that Americans would pick them up in box sets because that's how they were marketing
That's how we
television
consume our media.
shows over here was in sets. And so that's really all it boils down to. So it's almost unfair to kind of look at this as, well, what do we think of the trilogy? Well, it's not a trilogy.
Okay, what do you think of it as the New
stories together.
Beginnings, as the end of one era and the beginning of another, as the transition period?
Not even any different than the transition period for anything else. I mean, there's nothing here that stands out other than the fact that it was the loss of my Doctor. Nothing else stands out compared to 10th Planet and Power of the Daleks, or just any of those bridges are always kind of rough because it's a new Doctor, there's surprises involved. But I don't think this one stands out any different than any other end of an era, New Beginnings that has been done before.
I think you could almost make arguments that it could be a trilogy based off of the script editor wrote 2 of the stories
2 of 3,
on the heels of... So he saw the seeds of Keeper of Traken and said, "Oh, we can keep this going a little bit," and then bam, bam, do it. If it were 3 different writers, I think your argument is a bit more solid. I think you can argue it both ways because, there aren't strong connective tissues other than Master going through, but because the two of them are written by the same person, you can make the argument other way too.
So does that mean then you would consider Deep Breath part of a series, a trilogy, because Moffat wrote all of Day of the Doctor,
there's very
Time of the
strong
Doctor,
connections to them.
Name of the Doctor. I mean, I wouldn't call that a trilogy either.
To be completely
to say
pedantic.
because it's
New Beginnings box set or New Beginnings trilogy.
I mean, the new series
The
is
new
certainly
New
written
Beginnings.
different because the showrunner is writing
really
the
is.
bulk of the shows. But there were ones. I mean, if you look at Eric Sayward, he wrote several that were back to back. Now, it wasn't a transitional period between Doctors that he was doing, but Sayward wrote some back to back together. I don't think you could argue that would be a trilogy. It's because there's a common thread, and he's carrying it across to something else.
The E-Space trilogy is simply 3 stories that happen to take place in E-Space.
Yeah.
It's the E-Space Adventures. But that's more of a trilogy to me.
In fact,
than
that's more of the E-Space Adventures, though.
Yeah.
Right.
But they are certainly more connective as far as there's
fact,
more connective tissue for the
to be
E-Space
completely
trilogy.
pedantic about it, it really winds up being this is no different than Utopia and then Sound of Drums. And this is a 2-parter. Legopolis and Castrovalva was a 2-part episode.
Oh, I can see
That's
that.
dovetailing
Yeah,
off
I can
of
see
Keeper.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a better example.
I can see that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call that a trilogy either.
I come to this with very mixed emotions, really, because I've avoided these particular stories for so long, remembering the pain and suffering I endured as a kid, and found that it wasn't nearly as bad as I remembered. Even watching him unravel the scarf tonight was like, okay, I'm all right. I'm fine.
I actually kind of like that.
I do too.
The idea of
I found it rather funny.
the idea of using the scarf so that Adri could get back to the console room when
Yeah.
he got lost, and then throwing pieces of his wardrobe down when he's run out of yarn from the scarf. I thought that was
and
actually
then seeing
clever.
the lipstick on the wall, thinking it was some leak, and no, it's just my lipstick.
It's funny that they had the same idea.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it does, going back to any excuse for more TARDIS interiors. This one, we've seen it a couple times now, but I really, really, really appreciate that the roundels are not just decorative, that they're actual panels
functions.
Yes.
for things that are inside of them. That to me is just like, that's
Yeah, there's
the
even one
coolest
for a
thing.
first aid kit.
Mm-hmm.
There's one to turn the temperature down in the TARDIS.
Venting hydrogen,
Turning the temperature down.
going to manual control, which apparently the master's plan took that into account as well.
There are stories that I dislike more than this one, but this one's just one of those ones that it doesn't ever hit my list until we do something special. I think the last time that I watched this was when I bought the box set and thought, okay, I'm going to watch all these since I've got them all now. So
Yeah, I think it's one that while I enjoyed Keeper of Traken quite a bit and Legopolis quite a bit, I think I would feel I would have to continue if I started those two to watch this one. It kind of gets a pity viewing
Yeah.
for future viewings for me.
And
Which is
again,
a shame because I enjoyed the box set / trilogy, whatever you want to call it, these 3 stories. 2 of them fairly well, and then they kind of ended on kind of a meh note. It's kind of disappointing.
And it's ironic in an episode that features the Big Bang that this is the way the thing ends, not with a bang but a whimper.
No, that's the way things start.
there's other stories in the Doctor universe dealing with the Big Bang that are much better than this one. So
Because they've gone back, almost to what's the one you mentioned earlier?
Edge of
Edge of Destruction.
yeah.
And then obviously later in Big Bang and Pandorica.
Well, right in the middle there too, the one with the big. It's a Davison story again. It's is it Terminus? Is that the one where they meet the crew? And no, that's that one's with the leper crew.
Yeah.
There's another one where they meet the people and they end up causing the Big Bang, and I can't remember what story is that. It seems like
Yeah.
it seems like
Is
it's
that
a
a
Fifth
Davidson
Doctor story. And yeah, they end up they're the ones that are the cause behind the Big Bang. I can't remember what it is. Oh, maybe it'll come to me. And they have don't they have this big rock rock like what's it? Oh, it's like a big dragon looking thing, but it's like all rock. It's like all stone. And what is that? Why can't I think of what that is?
That's a Vol from the Star Trek episode.
What is that story? Anyway, there's that one where they end up
Terminus. It is Terminus.
It is Terminus. Okay, I had pieces of Terminus in my head, and then I thought, no, those were the lepers. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so it was Terminus.
Because that's the one that has the giant wolf that comes out of the
Wolf.
thing's mouth.
That's what
right?
it was. But
Yeah.
it was like a stone statue of a wolf.
It was like a Chuck E. Cheese reject, is
Well,
what it was.
yeah. Anyway, so there's that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought Terminus was set at the end of things, though. That's why it was Terminus and not before. I guess, man, I don't know. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch Terminus now because, hey, that's a trilogy.
That's Nisa's final episode. So
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
all right. Anything
So,
else you want to talk
any-
about on this before we
Any
wrap
other
this
thoughts,
up?
Keith, now that you're at the end? Have you seen everything there is to see other than the stuff that isn't real?
The stuff that
The stuff that no longer exists, that we need some block computation transfers to make work.
To bring it back.
you might have built up this box set and trilogy a bit too much. Maybe it's just the Castrovalva aspect of things that
I never said it was good.
The buildup was not for you. The buildup was for him putting it
true.
off as long as
Yeah,
possible.
I feel quite accomplished to having seen everything.
Purely done for my own benefit. I wasn't worried about you at all.
Although some things, it seems like it's been so long since I've watched that if I go back and rewatch at this point, I would be pretty fresh.
Well, now we're going back and watching everything in order. Woo!
All right.
All right. What do we got coming up on the schedules, Sean?
An unearthly child. No, I'm kidding. Well, now that Keith has seen all the Regeneration episodes, we thought it would be fun to talk Regeneration episodes. So we're going to kind of look into the best, worst kept secret of the Time Lords and discuss that peculiar genetic trait.
Possible. We don't know.
So we'll hopefully have a spirited discussion in that. We are also going to take a look at the free comic book day comic that Titan Comics released this year. I don't think it has a specific name other than Doctor Who 2018. But it was released if you were able to procure a copy on Free Comic Book Day. Good on you.
Looks like it has 3 titles. The 10th Doctor version, a part of it is called Catch a Falling Star. 7th Doctor part is called Armageddon Gambit. And the 11th Doctor part is Midnight Feast.
The Armageddon Gambit. That's a great title for a 7th Doctor story. I can't wait to read that. So, yes, Glenn spoiled it now that there's 3 stories in it. Thanks, Glenn. And so we'll cover.
As soon as you turn to page 2, it's right there.
We will be covering that as well next week.
Cool. Anything else we need to talk about before we close out this show?
I don't think so.
All right. If that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing ya.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.